If you kowtow to Trump, he hates you. If you don't kowtow to him, he might still hate you, but he'll respect you, and other people will respect you, and you will have a career going forward. Think of all of the entertainers that have kowtowed to him. Have any of them benefited from that? When the chips are down, does he have anyone's back? He has no one's back. And he has said that. He's this fantasy of, I can be honest with people and it will cost them and they still won't turn on me. So I'll always keep doing that. It's cost me aggravation online. There's a psychic annoyance to it. But after a while you go, yeah, okay.
Hello and welcome to Obsessed, the podcast. I'm Matt Wilstein from The Daily Beast, and today on the show we have one of my all-time favorite stand-up comedians who you may know from any one of his literally hundreds of TV and movie credits, and my kids definitely know as the voice of Remy the Rat in Pixar's Ratatouille. His newest stand-up special, Tea Scotch, is streaming now on YouTube. Patton Oswalt, welcome to Obsessed, the podcast.
Thanks for having me on, Matt.
So before we get to your new special, I did want to get your take on a couple of things happening in the world. First, I know that you have expressed yourself as a fan of wrestling before. So I want to know, how excited are you for the big UFC fight on the White House lawn?
Is that supposed to happen on the 4th of July, or does it happen in when is that supposed to happen?
It's coming up. It's just about mid-June, I think. Something like the 14th or something like that. I think it's I know what it is. It's Trump's birthday. That's why it's that day. It's Donald Trump's birthday, 80th birthday, by the way.
Look, if we're gonna enter the Mad Emperor Fall of Rome phase of the Republic, I say let's go all out.
Yeah.
Let's have them wrestling tigers and have I don't know. I mean, I'm really torn because I know how badly wrestlers get treated in the wrestling organization in terms of pay and healthcare and stuff like that. So if this helps them get some exposure, maybe they can launch a career. I mean, that part I'm happy for them. Maybe one of them will kind of flip shit and start yelling at Trump. That would make he or she immortal if they did that. Made some crazy statement, like some Spartacus moment, some gladiator, Maximus moment out there. Who knows? But the fact that it's happening, that they're literally building a it's backyard wrestling in the White House. It's a Kurt Vonnegut novel. It's a Mike Judge film. It's every bit of parody and satire we've ever had about the fall of America, but then done really badly. It's like the first draft of the Vonnegut thing where he goes, I better be more subtle about this.
It's unbelievable.
Well,
I don't imagine that you'll be attending that fight, but I did see that you
waiting for an invite. I'm hoping we're still checking the inbox. Who knows?
Yeah, it could happen. Yeah. You could be up there commentating with Rogan. Maybe that'd be good. I did see that you were at another big event, which was probably more fun than this will be, which was bittersweet, but the big rap party for Stephen Colbert in New York at the last Late Show. Was that a surreal moment to be there at that party and sort of watching this comedy institution say goodbye?
It was. I mean, it wasn't surreal. It was very, very real. This thing had been coming. And then what ended up happening was I ended up being kind of hopeful because who was there? Robert Smigel was there. He's doing his own thing online now. David Cross is there, still doing stand-up. Lin-Manuel Miranda's there. He's launching a new... it was a room full of people that are constantly doing that. No matter what the format is or what the access is, they're just going to keep making stuff. And then the fact that the day after that happened, Stephen Colbert was on local TV in Michigan, doing one of the funniest hours I've ever seen. And it's this quiet way of going, oh no, I still get to make art and comedy and be creative. And I'll always have that no matter what's going on. And it was, someone said online, and I can't remember who said it. They put it on Threads, but there was footage of Stephen Colbert dancing with his wife and everyone's, around him. And someone said, this is arguably the worst day of Stephen Colbert's career, which is far from over. And he is happier than Trump will ever be on the best day of his life. Like Trump will never know this happiness. And everyone there was like, I'd meet people and we would do the initial like, oh man, this is a bummer. And then we would just start talking about all the other stuff we're doing, the stuff we know Steve was going to be doing. So everyone I ran into and talked to, I talked with Sacha Baron Cohen and Elvis Costello and Terry Gross and Bette Midler. The fact that those four people were conversations I had over the course of an evening, really tells you the kind of the kind of world that Stephen Colbert can pull from and pull into. And the whole thing was just ended up feeling very, very hopeful and very, very energizing. Like, oh yeah, it's no different than when in the late 80s, early 90s, when the comedy club scene collapsed and then alt comedy started. And all alt comedy was, I just want to keep doing stand up no matter what. I'll do it in a laundromat. I'll do it in a little bookstore or something. I just want to keep doing this. So that same thing is about to happen, but now on a macro scale with entertainment. People are going to keep doing that. So it's great.
I thought, yeah, the local TV show in Michigan was very encouraging to me, showing that he's still willing to experiment. And I was such a big fan of the Colbert Report days and everything that
Yes.
he did there. So I'm sort of hoping for a return to some of that energy as well. Now that he's sort of had this big moment as a mainstream host, maybe he can get a little weirder and do some more underground kind of stuff.
He is constantly going to be coming up with new things. And the same, listen, Conan O'Brien could not be more culturally relevant and powerful now. And part of it has become from him getting kicked off of TV or kicked off a major network and then going, but I still have these 8 amazing things I want to do. And those are more popular and hilarious and brilliant than anything he would have been allowed to do. But so maybe I think it's a great sign that especially for younger people coming up, don't try to cater your stuff to whatever the bottleneck is and make them come to you.
Hmm.
People are always going to come to Stephen Colbert to do projects with him. Always.
Yeah. Having watched, I think we talked right around when the Kimmel stuff was going down, and now this everything that's happened with Colbert. What do you think are the lessons to be learned as a comedian who does speak politically, as a comedian who wants to speak out from how everything went down with Kimmel, everything went down with Colbert? What are the lessons of dealing with that in this, Trump second term?
Well, you can't, I mean, it's the most obvious lesson is if you kowtow to Trump, he hates you. If you don't kowtow to him, he might still hate you, but he'll respect you and other people will respect you and you will have a career going forward. If you kowtow to him and think of all of the entertainers that have kowtowed to him and have any of them benefited from that? Has there been any benefit? Does Trump have anyone's back in the in when the chips are down? Does he have anyone's back? He has no one's back. No one. And he has said that. He's openly said that. I don't care about the Americans' economic thing adequately. He just, in a way, you could argue he's honest on a horror scale of honesty. Of I truly don't. I truly he truly is what he is in a very messed up way. Maybe that's the ultimate appeal: is that people get lied to so often in their lives by institutions, by everyone. There is a weirdly refreshing thing. I think it's why people follow him. His followers won't abandon him. Is even if what he's saying is horrible, and even if what he's saying is detrimental to you, it is he is saying how he feels, and people get thirsty for that. They just would somebody be honest with me, even if it costs them, and he's this fantasy of I can be honest with people and it will cost them, and they still won't turn on me. Which very few people have in life. So there's that. That is an appealing thing that we have to look at.
Hmm.
So, there is something to be said to, wow, he doesn't care if he loses followers or respectability by just dropping the truth. Like, okay. So I'll always keep doing that. I mean, yeah, it's cost me, but then there's benefits to it. So,
Yeah. What do you feel like it's cost you?
um, just aggravation online. comments and people, and there's just y- you know there's a psychic annoyance to it, but after a while you go, yeah, okay, that's fine.
Mhm. I know you've talked about Bill Maher as sort of an opposite example of a Colbert or a Kimmel who, um, doesn't who has tried to make friends with Trump, and as you said, that does not actually earn the respect that maybe he expected. Trump goes after him just the same.
Let me put it this way. Bill Maher, I think with probably some pretty noble intentions, was like, I'm going to try to reach out and build a bridge to this guy. And what he doesn't understand is that now I think he does understand. You know, Donald Trump was raised like an abused shelter animal. And when you first adopt an abused shelter animal, when you try to be kind to them, they recoil from that because they're not used to that. Like they have to get used to kindness and people doing something for you where they don't expect something back. That is so alien to Trump. Everything that's ever been done to him, he had to pay for or give something back to. And the idea of a guy that, hey, I don't disagree with a lot of your stuff, but let's have dinner and maybe work stuff out. And then you could see it in Trump's head, like, what is this? This guy's he's going to want something. And he got on the defensive and then started attacking him, which is all Trump knows. And that's something that I actually have some sympathy with him for. I would have sympathy with him if he was in his 20s, but by the time you reach the age that Trump is, work your stuff out, man. You got to work your shit out. I just watched that. There's an extraordinary documentary about Martin Scorsese that's on Apple right now called Mr. Scorsese, and he is very open about, I was a really unpleasant, troubled young dude, like coming up as a filmmaker. I was angry all the time, and I was lashing out at people, and then he said, I still have that anger, but I've learned how to manage it. He went to therapy, and he knows how to manage his anger now, and he found real love and like you can always fix your life and fix yourself, but if you aggressively don't do that, because again, now there's this fake masculine culture of never apologize, no regrets, you psychiatry's for pussies. That's locking a lot of people into what's going to be a miserable life. You know, those people that weirdly enough, one thing that, Bill was always said to me that I agree with, he goes, "I've never understood these people that go, 'I have no regrets.'" Well, then you're lying. Everyone has regrets. Everyone screws up. What you do is you own it and go, "Hey, my bad. Now I know." There's stuff on my early albums that could easily get me canceled today, but I didn't double down on it. I went, "Oh, I didn't know better back then when I recorded that. I now know better. Sorry." And, you move on. But this doubling down, especially when, like, you see that it hurts someone, so then that becomes your badge of masculinity of, like, I'm numb to their pain. You're like, that's just psychopathic behavior, and it's also fear.
It does kind of relate to the other big comedy story that I wanted to ask you about, which is the roast of Kevin Hart and all of the discussion and backlash around that. I did not remember this, but I went back and looked. You did two back-to-back roasts on Comedy Central, William Shatner and Flavor Flav. I was only able to find the William Shatner set on YouTube, but it was fun to go back and watch that. Um, do you feel like that falls into the category of something that you wouldn't do again today? Or how do you think about the roast as a medium and your participation in it?
I still look, I love roasts, and there's some really amazing roasts out there. I think, oh, who was it? I think it was like, oh, I forgot the comedian who said this. To truly do a good roast, you have to love the person you're roasting and actually know who they are. And a really good roast gets into who that person is, and you end up showing how much you like them. But to try to wedge in some lame racist thing that has nothing to do with the person you're roasting, it's just it's sloppy and it's hack. It's just hack. It's fucking hack. Um, and weirdly enough, my Flava Flav roast is not that good only because I'm such a fan of Flava Flav, and I actually know what an amazing person he is and how he kind of has hidden the fact that he is a musical prodigy. He's kind of a genius, but he took on this persona of like the hype man clown. But so it was hard for me to I did way more roasting on the panel on the dais than I did of Flava Flav because I actually think he's kind of awesome, and I just couldn't think of enough bad things to say about him. So I just kind of ripped into everyone else.
Yeah, I was fascinated by the discussion around this roast. And you're referencing the racist jokes. I think that particularly Tony Hinchcliffe is the one who got the most called out for his George Floyd joke. On the one hand, I thought I totally agree with you that it was hack and it was just not funny to me. I did wonder if there's something valuable about having someone like him and someone like Chelsea Handler, who really went after him, on the same stage together, um, able to interact. And there's sort of no other place where that's happening right now, where there's that kind of interaction with opposite political sides.
It definitely says something, and there's definitely value in comedians who are all about nothing is sacred and fuck your feelings and man the fuck up. This is a roast. And then the minute they get made fun of, the internet turns into, why is Chelsea so mean? God, she was so mean. Like it kind of exposes a lot of that, the front and the grift of it all. So I was glad yeah, I'm glad that I would rather have it all out there and causing this discussion than have it hidden, or worse yet, have it smuggled in with clever, ironic, elliptical language where it's all a wink and a nod to, just do it. I'm actually glad it was done badly. Like, good. Now we see it.
Put it
So
all out on
good.
the table, yeah. So let's talk about your new special, Tea and Scotch, which I just got to see and really enjoyed, as I always do your material.
Oh man, thank you.
I do like that you saved your cat material for just after Mark Maron stopped podcasting. That was very smart.
Oh, I just had the one thing. I mean, my cat is actually a very chill animal. I love Mark. His cats, I really do feel like your pets take on your pathologies. So his cats, and he loves them, and they're really sweet, but they're all variations of Mark Maron. Like that's what, and my cat is basically me, which is I listen. What's the least amount of hassle I can deal with here? But she's also, and I think a lot of cat owners would agree with me that has this creepy thing where she will stop and look off and is kinda clearly interacting with something that she sees and hears that I don't see and hear, and it is when it happens, and it doesn't happen often, but it happens enough where I'm like, "Okay." I've never had a ghostly or paranormal experience, but I'm hanging out with something that's on a vibration where they are picking this stuff up, so I gotta live with that. It's very strange.
Well, I feel like the real hero of your special is your daughter, who you've talked about before, but she really comes off very well in the special as someone who's just generally much cooler than you are. So I'm wondering how you arrived at that as a theme that sort of runs, I think, throughout the special.
Most kids are cooler than their parents. Some parents fight that. I kinda revel in it, the fact that I've got this kid who's now 17 who is very much is in touch with things and up on things and wise about things that I was not wise about at her age. And so rather than being frustrated about that, I'm hopeful about the future. It's very encouraging to see my daughter and her cohort and kids her age. It's not that obviously there's been homophobes and racists and kind of backward revanchist people out there, but from what I've seen, there's gonna be a very quiet but seismic change when all of these people are out in the world and actually running things. They don't care about gay, straight, bi, like it isn't even a thing with them. Like someone can be, so is your friend gay? Because he's dating a guy. Well, he's dating a guy now. He dated a girl last year. I don't know. Like they don't think that that's a thing. Like they don't think of it like we were raised to, even when we were raised with tolerance, it was tolerance, but putting people in a category and then tolerating them once you had them in that category, and the categories are vanishing. That's going to be the next big shakeup. Is there's just going to be no categories, and the people that have been profiting off of and gaining power off of playing these categories off each other, and suddenly there's no category, and um, that's really going to be a shakeup when people are like, I don't like the idea of having a gay and lesbian group in a high school. That's going to seem weird. Like, why? Who cares? Just be gay. What that do you have an asthmatic club in the like, it doesn't fucking matter, who cares? So, that's gonna be a really big, shakeup that I don't think people see coming, and it's gonna be great when it happens, when just it whatever, I don't care, I don't care. Like, and that'll even be extended to, I think in a really creepy way, this is what's really gonna shake people up is that might even get extended to people who are homophobes and who like, I think that homosexuality is sin. That's great, dude. We're going to see this movie. You wanna come? Or like they just no one's gonna care. Like that's fine. Whatever you wanna do. Great. You know. But don't you understand? Like, but I feel this way. That's great. I accept it. Fine. Whatever. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
Um, Watching you on your last appearance on Colbert, which I think was just about a month ago or so, I was surprised to learn that your daughter is old enough to have found you in the Epstein files, which was something you talked to him about. Um, I was like, "Isn't she still a little kid?" But no, she's you said she's 17 now, but she actually found she searched you in the Epstein files and found you there. Is that what happened?
She and her friends were sitting around with that. It's the Department of Justice website. There's like a search bar and you can type in names. And they were typing in names, and then one of her friends said, she called me and told me all this. One of her friends said, "Type your dad's name in, see if your dad's name shows up." And my name showed up. And and the reason it showed up is because um Epstein, well, I call him Jeffrey. We all call him Jeffrey. Um, we've all been to his cookouts. So he was planning a early screening of a movie that I'm in. I'm not the star of it. I'm like the third cast member of it. So he was sending out an email to all his friends like, "Hey, I'm putting the screening together. Come see it." And he had the poster of the film and he listed all the cast members. So that's why my name is in there. But what's amazing is the movie he was setting the screening up for was young adult movie I did called Young Adult.
So on the nose.
And I'd recently I was at the Comedy Store last Sunday, and Jason Reitman came to see the show, and he was we were laughing backstage. He goes, "So my movie, he set up a screening of my movie?" I was like, "Yeah," and he brought all of his pedophile creepazoid friends, and they clearly were all excited, like, young adult, and then there's a nude scene in the movie, and it's me. I'm the nude guy, and it's my 47-year-old ass in Jeffrey Epstein's face. I was so happy.
Yeah, you got some, karmic revenge.
And I was laughing to my daughter. I was like, "Hey," I'm like, "I gave Jeffrey the worst night of his life." And then Alice went, "Well, second worst." And I was like, "That's my girl."
Yeah, sounds like she's following in your footsteps.
She got thrown out of her grief group after my first wife passed away. We both went to grief group together. Went to an adult grief group, and she went to a young kids grief group. And she got thrown out one day because she came in and just said, "Anyone been to any good cemeteries lately?" Like, just to crack a joke. And a couple of the kids laughed, and a lot of the kids were upset, so they asked her to leave. And I was like, part of me was like, "Yeah, that was maybe not appropriate," but inside I'm like, "Yes, fuck, that's awesome." Like, I was so proud of her, so
Yeah, well, I think you've always been so good at finding, comedy in the darkest moments. I remember, talking to you about the special of, that dealt with the huge tragedy of losing your wife, um, which I think is now just about 10 years ago.
it was 10 years ago. It was 10 years ago last month.
I wanted to ask you about this, great moment that sort of happened online where your wife Meredith now had this great response to someone who posted, "It must be tough to see, your husband pay tribute to his late wife," and she had this really great comeback about how no, it's not tough. It is how it's supposed to be, and I'm wondering what that meant for you to see that interaction happen.
Well, it wasn't surprising to me because Meredith Salinger, my wife now, she is just I don't know how she does it. She is able to elevate everything and kind of she calls it like I take a seat in the balcony and look at things from the balcony. That's a phrase that she uses, and so she's able to kind of express that to other people. Like, no, this is how you need to look at life. And it wasn't like she was like laughing about that. She goes, "Why would anyone think? Do they think that I didn't know you had a wife that passed away? And suddenly I'm going to look on your Instagram and go, what the hell is this? Like, I know that." She goes, I've done, I've talked with your daughter about your, wife. I know I mean, we had friends in common. They never met, but they had friends in common. She goes, "Your wife was an extraordinary person. I wouldn't want her to be anything less, and I wouldn't want you ever to forget about her. Why would you do that?" Like, it's I mean, and again, I show Meredith love every single day. Like, she knows we are a team, and we are looking out for each other's advantage, but she's like, "You got stuff you gotta live with." Why would you that doesn't make any sense. So, yeah, the fact that she was able to say it in a way that it really spoke to and also she said it in a way that she wasn't even being mean to the people who had a problem with it. She was like, it's like, "I get why your knee-jerk reaction would be that. Come up to the balcony with me and look at it this way, it's actually not that bad." Like, that was a really, really cool way. Because she also as she's already an extraordinary actress, and then she trained as she was acting, she trained to be a mediator. She went to Pepperdine and got a degree in mediation just 'cause I'm good at arguing, why not? She's just a friggin' brainiac, so she uses those mediation skills. "Come up to the balcony with me, let's look at things. Come up to the balcony and elevate." She's all about, "Can we just elevate everything, please? Let's just elevate things."
Yeah, that's beautiful.
So that was really amazing.
So we've been talking about some dark stuff. So I want to lighten things up with a sort of some career retrospective questions. So
Ooh.
I want to ask first, when you look back, is there a role that got away, something you auditioned for that you really wanted but didn't get, and that you still kind of think about?
No, and I'll tell you why. Because every role I haven't gotten, the person that I saw that got it was so amazing, and that's why that thing worked. Like, I'm lucky that I didn't get it. If I didn't get it, it meant I wasn't right for it. And I really, really subscribe. There's a great thing Charlton Heston said when they were asking him about, like, you turned down Cool Hand Luke and you turned down Butch Cassidy in Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid. "Do you regret that?" And he's like, "No, those movies wouldn't have worked with me. They worked because they put Paul Newman in them. I would not have been right for them, and the movies wouldn't have worked. So I dodged a bullet, and and I got to see a great movie." So, like, that is the way to go about show business. Now, there's some things I've turned down because of time restraints or because of I remember when Alice was first born, I was offered a TV show, the lead in a TV show that would have shot up in, Canada, but, like, way not in Vancouver or Toronto, like, up in the wilds of Canada, and it would have been a whole season, and it was mine to take, but my daughter had just been born, and I was like, "I don't wanna miss these years." I know that sounds soppy and sentimental, but having a kid is genuinely amazing, and I just said, "I can't do it," and they're like, we'll give you allowances to move your family up," and I'm like, "I don't want my daughter's first 9 months of memories to be in a frozen hotel room, like, up in Canada." Like, I want her to be here and running around, so I had to turn that down, and that is I mean, it doesn't bother me because the guy that they gave I'll tell you what it was. It was the 1st season of Fargo. They wanted me to do the Martin Freeman role, and Martin Freeman was so freaking good in that. He was so good that I think I would have done a really good job, but Martin just was this whole other level of perfect that, like, I really can't be upset about that because I got to watch a great show. That show Fargo is like has so far been 5 seasons, and each of them is this epic, perfect crime film that you just get to watch week to week on TV. I don't think people realize what a miracle that show is. what an ongoing miracle Fargo is. So that, and then I lost. There was like, I lost the role of Toby in American Splendor. It was down to me and Judah Friedlander, and Judah Friedlander is so good in that movie that I thank my lucky stars they didn't choose me, because I would not have been as good as him. He is perfection. He literally, there's a scene where they show the real Toby, and for a second I thought it was just, oh, that there's Judah again, and oh no, that's the real. Oh my God, like it's really startling to watch his performance. So yeah, I've never had those regrets, because the stuff that the goofy stuff that my daughter did the first 9 months of her life, I got to see all that and take pictures of it
Yeah.
and experience it. It was amazing.
As I mentioned at the top, you have a kind of ridiculous number of acting credits at this point in your career. You've just done so much.
Mhm.
Who is the actor that you did a scene with who just impressed you the most, who you couldn't sort of believe what you were seeing acting opposite that person?
Oh man, I mean, there's been so many. Charlize Theron in Young Adult, she was really kind of put the lie to the whole all that method acting nonsense, where she is one of the most fun, cool people you could hang out with, and she would snap into this character Mavis almost mid conversation, and Mavis is the most unpleasant, like, just hates like, hates life, like, hates that life is happening, and she would go into it, and she'd be Mavis in the scene, and, like, you wanted to throttle her, and then they would yell cut, and she'd be Charlize and just talk and joke and blah, 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 and there was never that, like, "Hey, I have to go into this character now, and it's gonna be really," but she was just like, "We're acting, we're professionals, let's," like, it really made me go, that's the level of acting that I wanna exist on." Like, that's what I wanna be, this is not this, like, "Hey, man, listen, I'm playing this violent drug addict, so while we're on set, I'm gonna be this violent ass." No, you can't just ugh. Um, I also did a scene with, Toni Collette. This wasn't even a scene. We did a table read on United States of Tara. She came in, she was in her sweatpants and a T-shirt, she had a big frappuccino, and she clearly had not looked at the script, and she sat down, and she started reading the script, cold reading it, and that's a show where she plays a character with multiple personalities and goes into these alter egos. And cold reading a script, she went into 6 different alter egos sitting there, and me and Brie Larson and everyone Rosemary DeWitt, like, we were all at the table, like, looking at each other like, "Is why isn't anybody filming this? Like, this is like an actor's clinic, like, actors need to see you can operate on this level. Oh my god," So that kinda, and then there's also been, like, just amazing professionalism that I've seen. One time I was doing these readings. Well, I was new. Jason Reitman did these readings at LACMA where they would recast movies with whole new cast members. So he let me direct one. So I did Raising Arizona with Amy Poehler in the Holly Hunter part, and Amy came, and she had been shooting all that day on Parks and Rec, like dawn call time, all that day, and producing it and doing all this stuff. Then she came to LACMA, did this reading, and you could tell how exhausted she was, and she just was like, "I said yes to this, I'm doing it," and then the next day, she had, like, a 5 AM call time, and, like, it was just absolute, "I am here to do a job," and she was, of course, brilliant. So, there's just all, and then there's, an actress, and I am blanking on her name, I'm gonna hang on,
You're gonna look it up?
well, wait a minute. When I did the show Space Force for Netflix, I had some scenes. I'm on a mission to Mars. I'm on this probe to Mars just alone, and there's a I'm on the video screen with the actress who plays Steve Carell's daughter. His kind of hippie daughter, and this is during COVID, and there's all this craziness. What was her name? It was Diana Silvers. Diana Silvers, um, she doesn't need to be there because she's not on screen for this thing, and she came in during COVID to be off screen with me and do her part of the dialogue, and it made my performance better because she showed up on a day she wasn't working. I've never forgotten that. That was like, oh, that's the kind of professionalism I want to like pay forward to other people that I work with. I will always be on the other side of the camera if someone needs me in a scene. I'll just be there. Like, why wouldn't you do that? Like, you get to act. Isn't it fun to act?
Yeah, that's the famous Jack Nicholson Few Good Men story, right? That he went just as hard when it wasn't on him.
And they're like, why are you doing this? He goes, I love acting. And you're like, that's right. We get to act. Why don't you love acting? What's wrong with you?
What about the scene partner who made you laugh the hardest on set? Someone who just you couldn't stop breaking when you were in a scene with them.
Paula Pell. Paula Pell on AP Bio. There's a scene, but she cracked everyone up. I mean, she just and she. I'm laughing about it right now. There's a scene where she's describing her two grandfathers who were killed in a tornado, and they get lifted off the ground, and she described it as two Ziploc bags of SpaghettiOs hitting each other. And she does it. She's never going for the laugh. She's always like 1,000% sincere. Like, I'm trying to do this thing. And it's that scene. I lost it so much. If you watch that scene, because it's her talking, and so they're doing the over the shoulder shit. And usually they cut to the other person reacting, and there's no reaction shots of me because I was just and the one over the shoulder shot, you see my shoulders shaking because I'm just like trying not to let it. Everything she did was hilarious. Just so yeah, that. And then also getting to work with Kevin James and Jerry Stiller, two sides of like, Kevin James is works every scene till he figures out like all the little physical things that are going to make it better. He can do so much stuff without talking. And then Jerry Stiller is the opposite. There's no actual working of the scene. He just comes into it like someone's dumped a thing of pots and pans down the stairs, and he just comes into the scene, and everything he says is funny to the point where sometimes some of the lines he said would get laughs that didn't need to get laughs, and it would throw the scene off. Like, he could get a laugh coming in going, hello, Douglas. Like, that would get a laugh because it was just something so odd about him. So watching those two different disciplines, like absolute Jedi letting go, and then this samurai perfection focus that just blew me away.
So I feel like there are two things that you get asked a lot about in interviews. One is whether there's a Ratatouille sequel,
Mm-hmm.
and the other is your very famous Star Wars filibuster scene from Parks and Rec. So I'm wondering if we can combine those two. Can you sort of channel the Star Wars filibuster energy to pitch a Ratatouille sequel for the world?
Here's why I'm not going to do that. All right. This is why I'm not. And this is out of respect. That's a really cool question, but I don't want to. Obviously, I'd love if there was a Ratatouille sequel, but I want it to happen because Brad Bird gets an idea that will not. That's how he works. He is one of those guys. There was never going to be an incredible sequel until he got. Oh, wait a minute. There is a story to tell that he couldn't resist telling. So if he gets an idea, that's the one I want to do. I don't want to be the guy going, hey, what if Remy did this? And like that. I want it to happen. I want it to be one of those ideas that happens that you cannot get away from. I don't want it to come from us. All right, let's get out the legal pads. Let's break down a sequel, and there's a lot of movies, that's how they're done. And it always feels inorganic. I want it to feel like, oh, this is a story we needed to tell. Here's the next thing, I want the sequel to be like, not the same type of movie, but that same energy that like Terminator 2 or Aliens had, which is, oh, there's an expansion of the story that we actually need to tell. This isn't just a money grab. And yes, by the way, we love the money and we're going to grab it, but we're going to get the money by telling an amazing story with whole new dimensions that we didn't even know beforehand.
Well, you didn't answer it exactly like I wanted, but I feel like that was a pretty good answer. And I too want the Ratatouille sequel to be great. I mentioned my kids are big fans. We just took them to Paris, and I will tell you that they spent a good part of the trip looking for Remy. They thought that he might be at the Eiffel Tower. They wanted to go to the restaurant from Ratatouille. So we kind of had to fudge that a little bit. And I think it's this one, and so we took them somewhere that was close. But
Oh, that's adorable. Oh, they were looking for Remy.
yeah. So I'll be looking forward to that sequel if it ever happens.
Oh my God.
There's a saying that people like to say, "Never meet your heroes." And I wanted to know if you could tell me a quick story that either proves that saying right or wrong.
I'm not going to tell any of the stories that prove it right because, maybe I caught them on a bad day. But I will tell one that proves them wrong.
Yeah.
I got to meet Martin Scorsese at an award show, and I could have just gone up and said, "Hi, I'm a huge fan." And I was also hosting the show, and I guess I'd made a lot of references to other movies during my time on stage. When I met him backstage, we ended up talking for like 15 minutes, and he didn't do it in a way like, "Hey, I got to go." We were genuinely telling stories about Timothy Carey and old film noirs like Crime Wave and The Prowler and directors we loved, and it was just like talking to someone that you would like. You both walked out of the New Beverly, you've seen some movie, and they're both in the lobby. You're like, "Hey, did you like?" And he just talked. We just like talked about movies, and he was so unhurried and chill, and I've always remembered that, like how just unhurried and unbothered he was, and just like, "Oh no, I like movies. Let's talk about movies." And so I always try to pay that forward if ever I meet someone and they want to talk about like, "Hey, this man," I will never go like, "Okay, good, that's great." I will try to engage people and, talk about whatever if we have a common interest, and that levels both of us immediately. He wasn't he stopped he for the first like 3 seconds when I went out to him, it was a fan meeting Martin Scorsese, and then the 15 minutes, it was 2 New Beverly film buffs talking about film noir. And then I had to leave because I had to go back up and host. So it was, and it wasn't like goodbye, but I was just like, this meant everything to me to get to talk to you. I have to go and host, but please, so it was a really, it was like, that's how you really deal with, meet people and interact with them. And it just felt very, very human. It just like, for all of his darkness, a lot of that darkness comes out of he stares unblinkingly at humanity, and he's always hoping for something good. So there was something so human about that. Like that's at his core, and I saw it. I got to interact with it.
Well, the new special, Tea and Scotch, is streaming now on 800 Pound Gorilla's YouTube channel. Patton Oswalt, thank you so much for being here. It's always so great to talk with you.
It was delightful.
All right. Thank you so much again to Patton Oswalt. I hope that you all enjoyed that conversation as much as I did, and I am definitely still holding out for that Ratatouille sequel. If you like this podcast, please follow us on YouTube at the Obsessed channel. Leave us a comment. Let us know what you think of this episode and our other episodes. You can also follow us wherever you get your podcasts on Apple or Spotify and leave a rating and review there as well. Thanks to our producer, Rachel Passer, and we will see you soon.